few weeks ago, Tommy Robinson was arrested for reporting on a child rape gang while outside the court, which was sentencing several Muslims for raping young girls. This is what I call utter bullshit, and was clearly just a way to silence him, as is common with authoritarian states. Now, Tommy Robinson had not broken the law, as he was careful not to say anything or do anything that could screw with the case in any way, yet he was still arrested for quote-unquote breaching the peace and was sentenced the exact same day. The BBC was quick to call it as him being arrested for putting the case at risk. However, this is just not true. Now, I'd like to say how exactly is the justice system this effective when it comes to Tommy Robinson, but it took decades for them to catch a group of rapists which they knew about. This is just outlandish and shows how corrupt the system is. They wanted him gone, but legally they can't put him to death, so they've put him in an environment where he is likely to be murdered. This was the quickest arrest and processing of an arrest in history. And then a gagging order was issued on the press and the public, so no one could talk about it. However, this did not stop the tens of thousands of protesters across Britain from protesting against this, not to mention the other millions throughout Europe and America, which I personally was not expecting. Once the gagging order was removed, because obviously people weren't listening to it, it didn't take long for the BBC to label these people as far-right and violent. They do know how to scare their own by making it seem like there's a far-right on every street corner. Besides this, they've kept rather quiet about it since, only reporting half a story and then shutting up about further developments as it goes against their agenda. Well, recently Tommy was transferred to Leicestershire prison, which has a 72% Muslim population. According to Paul Joseph Watson at InfoWars, the Muslim inmates were threatening him, and an imam even put a price on his head. Even the guards threatened him. Worst of all, he has no protection, and he's not even in solitary confinement. He's in a wing with convicted child rapists, which would have a good personal reason to beat him up and possibly kill him, as he called out many for committing such crimes. The British government has effectively put Tommy Robinson on death row without there even being a death row in Britain. And they've done this because he was exposing child rapists. Yes, you are hearing all of this correctly. Child rapists are being protected by the government, and they've basically been given a man they despise. They've been given him on a silver platter, and he's ripe for the killing, because the guards aren't going to protect him in the prisons, and he has no way of protecting himself against hundreds, maybe even thousands of Muslims who want him dead. Our government is effectively comparable to Nazi Germany and the USSR, because they also did this. They'd drag people off in the middle of the night, throw them in a gulag, and you'd never hear from them again. They'd either be killed, or they'd just be missing. No one would know. It's amazing. It's quite scary. I guess it just shows how far Britain has fallen. Now, this last part is a warning. A warning to the courts, the Lords, all the MPs, the Prime Minister, and the Home Secretary. If Tommy Robinson is murdered, all of you will be held accountable, and believe me, You will all be replaced by force. You seem to forget that the British people will never be subjected to tyranny. Every time someone has tried to subjugate us, they've always failed. I'll warn you, just as Napoleon was warned when he tried to invade Britain. There are very bitter weeds in England. If he's killed, he'll become a symbol, and a symbol's hard to kill. He'll be a symbol of your corruption, and you'll give the masses a reason to fight you. You may have taken our guns, but you'll find a knife ban doesn't stop people from taking them to the streets. You don't have the manpower to stop the riots that will happen if he's killed. And trust me, if you think people are going to start believing the BBC, your main political tool, you are very wrong. You will be removed. No one believes you. No one trusts you. And quite frankly, they have a good reason not to. And if this man, who is innocent, is killed, bad things will happen. And they'll happen too quick for you to react. You won't have time to. I have been Fenrir, and thank you for watching. Unfortunately, I do live in Britain, so if I suddenly disappear, it is because I've been arrested by the Shadow Police, Britain's version of the Gestapo. But yeah, this is a warning. I don't even know how other countries will react to this, because I know millions across the States and even throughout Europe protested against his arrest. Britain might even get invaded while it's having a civil war. It looks like the British government is certainly outnumbered. They better hold their cards close, because they're in trouble. They've stepped into some serious shit, and it's going to bite them in the ass. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you in my next video. Remember to like, comment and subscribe.